Do you keep promising yourself that tomorrow will be better, then only to go and overeat or binge again the next day, and you just wish it could be different? If so, I'm going to share now the mindset shifts that help my clients, also helped me. I was my first client. Overcome overeating or binge eating. And I had issues with this for 2 decades, 20 years. So if I can be in a place now where I don't do that anymore and never overeat, and then you can too. 100% you can too. So I just want to start with that. I also want to share that because I've been in a position where you might be now, I don't have any judgment, just a lot of compassion. And I hope that you can also apply that compassion to yourself too, because that's going to help you be able to move forward a lot quicker than if you're shaming yourself for your eating habits. They are simply a coping strategy that you've developed, and you will overcome them, and they don't mean anything about you. At your essence, you are wonderful and you can work through this. Okay, so I'll share the mindset shifts straight away. So the first one is going from control, that rigid control and rules we have, to understanding and awareness. So I used to think that if I just controlled harder, tried harder, used more discipline and willpower, then I would finally stop overeating. And it just isn't true, because the more controls I had, the more I wanted to rebel, the more deprived I felt. And so overeating isn't about discipline. It's about understanding why we're overeating and becoming very aware and curious. So if you notice that you're saying, I should do this, and you're having food rules, maybe telling yourself that you shouldn't eat after a certain time, or that you need to do intermittent fasting, if you're doing any of these controls, the best mindset shift is to let go of these controls and just come from a place of trying to understand why you have this relationship with food. And once you understand, you be aware, and from this place you can then change your relationship with food. So stop having controls. The next shift is, instead of seeing every time that you still overeat, even though you wish you didn't, not seeing it as failure, but seeing it as feedback. Again, getting curious. Why did this just happen? What has happened today? What happened just before I started overeating? Maybe you didn't eat enough earlier in the day, so now your body is naturally needing more food. Maybe you've been trying to deprive yourself. Maybe you're using food as comfort. Maybe you're stressed and you're not connected to the process of eating. Maybe implementing a mindful eating habit would allow you to pause and recognize when you're starting to feel full before you actually get to that point. So just seeing every time that you still do this as an opportunity to learn something about yourself. It's not failure, it is feedback. And yeah, one client realized that her overeating often happened when she either skipped breakfast or skipped lunch. So it could be something as simple as that. It could be a more deeper psychological reason. But again, just seeing it all as feedback and not a failure, because it is not. Okay, so the next thing is changing the all or nothing mindset to flexibility, which leads to consistency, which is what we want. We want things to be a bit more consistent and smooth instead of this gripping to eating in a certain way. And the all or nothing mindset is telling us that foods are good or bad when actually they're not. They're just neutral. Of course, they have a different impact on our body and our health, but labeling foods are good or bad isn't helpful. Telling ourselves that we're either on a diet or not on a diet isn't helpful. I recently had a client that would let go and eat whatever she wanted over the winter months, and then when it came nearing the summer and she wanted to feel good in a swimsuit, she went on an extreme diet, and she was in this cycle her entire adult life until we worked together. And now she doesn't need to be, because she just has a more balanced and peaceful relationship with food, so that her weight has stabilized and it doesn't need to go up and down anymore. But this all or nothing thinking was really keeping her in this cycle, and it wasn't the healthiest, most balanced approach for her. So people can swing between that, and I don't like this concept. I've mentioned it before, but I don't like this concept of cheat meals or cheat days for this reason, because you're cheating on yourself. It doesn't make any sense. And why would we do that? Why would we tell ourselves, okay, we're not allowed all this food, but on a certain day we are, and then we're telling ourselves we've cheated? It's just not a helpful way. It's a very black and white way of thinking, and it keeps us stuck in this cycle of not actually having the relationship with food that we truly want, which is honestly just balanced and not having to overthink it anymore, and knowing that we can trust ourselves. So moving away from that and creating some balance and being flexible. allowing yourself to still have the things that you think you shouldn't have as much of, as well as eating lots of the foods that are really good for you. Just having a more balanced, flexible approach will lead you to better results in the long run and just make it all very more enjoyable. We also need to shift from this links to the cheat thing. We need to shift away from this distrust to self-trust. So every day, reminding ourselves the ways that we've shown up for ourselves can be very, very helpful. So instead of being like, I did this, I shouldn't have done this, being like, okay, I ate lots of veggies in this meal, I had some movement when I went for a walk, I drank more water than I usually would. So just building this trust with ourselves, maybe setting ourselves one small thing each morning that we want to stick to that feels very achievable. Set yourself up for success and start to build this trust back up with yourself. Because once we trust ourselves, we're not going to have the tendency to overeat anymore, because we're giving ourselves respect. Because trust and respect go hand in hand, like in a romantic relationship and in the relationship with ourselves. Another thing to move away from is, instead of restricting, having this abundant mindset. So the scarcity mindset of I'm not allowed sugar, I'm not allowed processed foods, blah, blah, blah. We want to have an abundant mindset. So one thing that works for a lot of my clients is, instead, if you've been in a restrictive mindset of counting calories and things like that, having the positive way of counting as many plant foods as possible. So this includes your vegetables, your fruits, your nuts, your seeds, your legumes, your herbs, ginger, anything like that. And for the best optimum gut health and healthy gut microbiome, a variety of 30 of these plant foods a week is really good for us. So it's quite fun to try and hit 30 and get as close to as you can. And you're retraining your mind from, instead of having this scarcity restriction, you're having this abundant mindset of I can eat as many of these foods as I want. When you're creating a big dinner, like as many of these different veggies and plant foods as you like, adding the nuts, the seeds for crunch, adding some herbs, like anything that you want to make it fun, to make this process fun instead of restrictive. And then the final mindset shift that's super important is, instead of trying to fix your body by changing your eating habits, you are supporting your body with nutritious foods. So instead of it being, I need to cut out this food because I want to look different and lose weight, it's I'm going to choose these nutrient-dense foods that give me lots of energy and vitality to do all the things I want to do in the day to support my wonderful body, to grow muscle, to be able to do fun things with my kids, or to enjoy my partner, or to start a new hobby, or whatever it might be, to have more energy to enjoy your life. So instead of fixing your body, you're supporting your body. These mindset shifts helped me, they help my clients, and I really hope that they help you too. Okay, talk to you soon. Bye-bye.